Hi, let's talk about overall or grand strategies for a business organization. Some sort of a listing or classification of the overall strategic choices that a business organization has. So, first you can look at growth strategies, and growth can be organic growth through expansion or inorganic growth through expansion. This is organic growth through expansion. This is inorganic growth through expansion. Now, organic means you do it yourself, and expansion means doing the same thing but in a bigger way, selling more, producing and selling more if you are in production. So that is expansion. Sometimes it's also known as horizontal integration. So when you do it yourself, it's called organic, and you are growing, so it is organic growth, and you are expanding, you are producing and selling more, so it is expansion, also known as vertical integration. So first you have organic growth through expansion. Then you can have inorganic growth through expansion. Inorganic here would mean that you don't do it yourself. You either buy some company, take over some company, merge with some company, acquire some company. So things like M&A, mergers and acquisitions, joint ventures, amalgamations, these sorts of things are called inorganic. So when you don't do it yourself but do it by taking over some company or merging with some company, but it is expansion, it is doing the same thing in a bigger way. You have a factory producing something, and you buy another factory from a competitor producing the same thing, then your capacity increases, so you are expanding, but it is inorganic because you are not doing it yourself, you are just taking over some other factory. So that is inorganic growth through expansion. Then you can have organic growth through diversification. Organic growth through diversification. Now, diversification basically means that you are not, expansion and diversification are two different things. Expansion is when you are doing the same thing in a bigger way, trying to increase your capacity, increase your production, increase your sales of the same thing. Diversification is you do a different thing, you do enter a different business, you start a different product line. So that is called diversification. So when you diversify, you are getting into a different business or a different product. That is diversification. And but it is still your company is doing it, so it is organic. So it is organic growth. You are still growing. Your total sales is growing, so that is growth. But it is happening through diversification. Then you can similarly have organic growth, inorganic growth through diversification. Inorganic growth through diversification would again mean you diversify but not on your own. You diversify by joining with somebody else, getting into a joint venture with a different company, or acquiring a different company which is doing something different from what you are doing. So you are getting into a different product or business, but not doing directly, but by joining hands with somebody or buying somebody or merging with somebody else. So that is your inorganic growth through diversification. Now, diversification can be, there are three ways of looking at it: related diversification, unrelated diversification, or conglomerate diversification or conglomeration. Related, unrelated, conglomerate diversification. Related diversification is when what you are doing is different but not too different. You are doing something similar. You are into two-wheeler manufacturing and you get into a four-wheeler manufacturing, or maybe from petrol you move into CNG, or from petrol you move into electric vehicles. You are still in vehicles, so it is related, but you are doing something different. The engine is not internal combustion, now it is electric, so one can call it related diversification. Unrelated diversification is when you do something entirely different. A vehicle company gets into say software development, so that would be unrelated diversification. Software is an entirely different business, whereas vehicle manufacturing is a different business, so that is called unrelated diversification. And when you do too much of unrelated diversification, that is called conglomeration or conglomerate diversification. When you have diversified into many unrelated businesses or products, so that is your unrelated diversification. Another such classification is integration. Basically have vertical integration. There can be forward integration or backward integration. Integration is also vertical integration, like horizontal integration. Sometimes expansion is the different word for expansion is horizontal integration. In diversification, you can also do vertical integration, which is forward or backward. Forward integration means, in a way, you become your own buyer. That means, let us say a wholesaler becomes a retailer. A wholesale business also starts retailing its products. Then it is forward integration. You are going closer or towards the final customer or consumer or end user. That becomes forward integration. And backward integration is when you become closer to your supplier or when you become your own supplier. Currently, you are buying from somebody and then adding value and selling to somebody. Now, when you, instead of buying, you start manufacturing it yourself, then you do backward integration. So Reliance Industries is an example of a fully vertically integrated company. They started with petrochemicals. Then they forward integrated into making clothes, because clothes were made from polyester, which was coming from petrochemicals. So that was forward integration. And then from petrochemicals, they went into refining and all that, oil exploration and refining, because petrochemicals come from oil, basically crude oil and all that, petroleum products. So that was backward integration. So forward integration was from petrochemicals and then towards plastics and clothes, polyester clothes, and backward was from petrochemicals towards refining and crude and oil exploration and oil refining. So these are your essential growth strategies. Then you may have something called stability or status quo kinds of strategy. Stability or status quo, which means basically you are simply trying to go along without really worrying too much or trying to expand or grow. Your focus is not on growth, your focus is on maintaining what you are doing. So it's more of a maintenance sort of a scenario. You are trying to stabilize, you are not trying to grow. So it is kind of maintaining status quo sort of a thing. And the third basic alternative is when you try to cut down or reduce in some way. That may be called retrenchment, divestment, or turnaround. These are the examples of the third type of strategy, which is not growth oriented or stability oriented. You are trying to cut down or trying to reduce. Maybe you are trying to sell off some businesses or closing off some product lines. Maybe you are trying to shrink your business. Maybe you are trying to eventually close down or sell off or liquidate. And sometimes turnaround is when you are not doing well, your company is not doing well, your business is not doing well, it's not making money, it is making losses, you may become sick or insolvent. So you are trying to turn around. Turning around means changing your direction so that from loss making you become profit making. So that generally happens by cutting costs, reducing costs, reducing variety, reducing product lines, laying off people, and all those sorts of things. So when you try to reduce your variety, shrink your size, lay off your people, that is basically the idea, is to cut costs and improve margins and improve profitability. So going from red to black, that is basically turnaround. So these are parts of your retrenchment, divestment, and turnaround strategies. So essentially we have growth strategies, inorganic and organic, which includes expansion and diversification. Expansion is horizontal integration. Diversification can have related, unrelated, and conglomerate, and also you can have vertical integration as a part of diversification, forward and backward. These are growth strategies. Then you have stability or status quo or maintenance kind of thing, and then you have reduction, retrenchment, divestment, and sometimes turning around, going from loss making to profit making by reducing your costs. So these are the overall strategic options that a business organization has. Thank you.